Thought Crimes.
Welcome to Thought Crimes. This is your boy Prince Solomon in the building with
Sincere Ignorance.
All right.
This is the man. Steve
Woosah.
Harvey is a great man who is a mentor to a lot of your comedians, such as Jamie Foxx and Charlamagne the God.
if you follow my lead and grow a mustache, serve it. Where's my damn cards? Shit.
So, how do you feel about Steve Harvey?
Oh, man, I had an epic rant about Steve Harvey on my original channel, Prince Solomon, which I have reactivated, folks. If you want to, please get over there. It's Prince Solomon. Just punch me in on YouTube. I'm sure the video itself about Steve Harvey will come up.
Also, I am Prince.
Yes, I am Prince as well. Thank you, Sincere. But yeah, I had an epic rant about Steve Harvey. And it was when he went after Tavis Smiley and Cornel West. And to be honest with you, all criticism is fair because they were criticizing Obama at the time. But this is when people were drinking a lot of the Kool-Aid when it comes to Obama. So when it came out so early, kind of like Lupe Fiasco, pretty much a lot of people had labeled them coons, called them crazy or hating or jealous, right? So Steve Harvey did this thing on the show and he was like, well, I'm just going to tell you right now.
He's some fucking coons.
Cornel West, you a coon. Tavis Smiley, you a coon. So I had this epic rant, got all these views at the beginning of Obama's administration. People were thumbsing it down. They was like, oh, you black Republican. But now people are like, yo, can you please do a part 2? I'm done with Steve Harvey, but I will say this, though. I can objectively look at Steve Harvey as a successful businessman. I will say that I've read about his diversified portfolio with businesses and different economic endeavors. He's very successful on that. I just never agreed with his ideological approach to a lot of things, especially regarding race.
Well, he called them a coon, but who ended up on the sitting next to Paula Deen?
Yeah, the damn sausages are good.
Mrs. Plantation Wedding.
Yo, I'm coming.
Is it a Southern thing though? Do you think it is? Like that with the whole Christian, because the Christianity is more prevalent there, more heavy.
Oh,
that they're more prone to be like, oh, I'll sit next to a racist or a bigot and we'll break bread and I'll forgive them.
Well, look at this. Look, I grew up in the South, okay? I spent all my life in the South. Without a doubt, though, I will say this. Yes, it is a Southern thing. You have to think about it. There's the Bible Belt. The Bible Belt, that's in the South. It's not in Harlem. It's not coming from Harlem to Philly. The Bible Belt is in the South. So with guys like Steve Harvey, yes, there is going to be, to a degree, a particular type of mentality that is going to be a little bit more lenient towards racist behavior. Bit? Well, yeah, I'm going to say little to a lot, okay? But a little to a lot, because they are going to have people, they're going to be a little bit more forgiving. Yes, they're going to sit down with Paula Deen. Look, I have no problem. What you would usually see, though, in the 60s, though, they would sit down with a Paula Deen, a black person, a black intellectual, but they would have an intelligent conversation, a public discourse. Whereas when you saw Steve Harvey sit down with Paula Deen, it was a lot of kowtow and a lot of forgiving and excusing, too.
Yeah, that's two different situations there. Like in the 60s, as you stated, they were debating this person. They weren't sipping tea saying, oh, black people need to calm down and forgive you. No, this is what they're doing now. That whole submissive type of behavior. Because back then, like we stated, it wasn't like that.
No, it wasn't. And look, I mean, Steve Harvey, look, everybody pretty much knows a lot about Steve Harvey and how he's treated certain comedians. And, again, just being a business shark at the end of the day. And, of course, that is who Charlamagne has stated openly he's kind of patterned himself off of to a degree. He's looked up to him.
Didn't Steve Harvey say he would take a dick in the ass for $1 million?
Oh, yeah, that stand-up special. It was when he was talking to Michael Duncan Clark. And he was asking him, how did you go from the Green Mile to wearing a gorilla suit? Michael Duncan Clark simply replied, well, they paid me $10 million. Yeah, $10 million. Shit. I paid the inside of my butthole. Fuck $10 million. Give me $2 million. He said this. You guys can look it up on YouTube. So when I saw that, I told my brother at the time, I says, that man will have his own show and he will be the new face of America.
And he called Tavis and Cornel West a coon.
Doctor,
and they wouldn't do that for $10 million.
No. Look, however you may disagree with Cornel West or Tavis Smiley, you have to say this, though. They have not publicly went out of their way to try to embarrass black people or being poo-poo about slavery. Like, because that was one of the things that Steve Harvey did on his show. He says, I don't give a damn about slavery, to something to that degree. And for him to stay in that space where he is, he has to stay within that, because a majority of his audience, you got to understand, he has inherited a fringe segment of Oprah's audience, because a lot of things
I like
happen.
how you said fringe.
Yeah,
it's true.
It is. It's a fringe segment, because if you think about it, you all don't realize how big and powerful Oprah was. When she left, it opened up the space for Tyra Banks, for Wendy Williams, Steve
Ellen.
Harvey.
A lot of
Ellen.
our audience has splintered off into Ellen as well.
Yeah, it was like the queen has left the building.
Wendy.
Yes.
A lot of people who watch it.
I mentioned Wendy Williams, yeah.
No, so I think it's Wendy, Ellen, Steve Harvey.
Yeah, and it was Tyra Banks at one time when her show was up and running.
Yeah.
She had inherited a fringe segment of the Oprah audience. So he's trying to placate to that audience.
Well, he's placating to Christian people, period, but
White
especially
America,
especially also black Christians in the South that really love him.
Yes.
But also white women.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Michael Bazin crowd.
Oh, they people talk about people who put them to sleep like J. Cole. I'm sorry, Michael Bazin, he put me to sleep.
Yeah, but that
Steve
is
Harvey
it.
put me to sleep.
Yeah, that is. And look, I have no problem with that type of platform, right? Michael Bazin, look, I have no problem with his platform. He does what he does. The thing about Steve Harvey, though, he goes out of his way to make sure he makes white people feel a lot more comfortable about things regarding slavery. And I know to a degree that's what comedians do, is make people look at their own hypocrisies, but at the expense of your own people, though. That's the thing I'm trying to say.
He's not doing that for comedy, though.
Well, he never really has been that strong of a comedian.
Yeah, I mean, because even when he was doing his stand-up before, I didn't see him using that much, forgive white people in his early days. I mean,
he's toned down.
Yeah, so
he has toned down.
He's not making comedy right now just so black people can look and reflect on themselves. He's just pandering.
Well, yeah, I like what you said, pandering. This is why I said a little bit earlier into this segment, I said that he's trying to make sure he stays in that space.
Yeah.
Because he's done a lot of shaving off of a little bit of the edge that he had. He already wasn't a top tier comedian, but he did have a filterless mouth when he was out there. Now you see him, a lot of things, he stays in the little happy zone.
Let's be real then. Do you think he should have been in the Kings of Comedy? I mean, Paul Mooney, was offended by everybody, doing the King of Comedies. But, I feel Bernie Mac was deserving to be in there. But how did you feel about everybody else?
I think
Hughley.
I think, to me, if we're going to use King, and at that time they were supposedly the
hot niggas.
Yeah, they the new generation of comedy.
Yeah,
and they were trying to carry on the mantle from the Richard Pryor days, from the Martin Lawrence days, from the Eddie Murphy days, and then at that time the generation we didn't see what everybody saw with Richard Pryor. We got glimpses of it with Chris Rock. Right, but so when they did something like that, which it did a lot of numbers, that's why they call themselves the Kings of Comedy. Which one could say
it did so really, really well,
and it was directed by Spike Lee.
Well, I will also say though, even for that particular time, do you feel everybody was a great fit?
No, I don't. No, Steve Harvey to me was the one that did not fit.
Now, even if that's the case, do you think they still had good chemistry though? For that particular taping, for that special,
you know what they did? They were the entrees leading up to the appetizer, which was Bernie Mac. So Steve Harvey, you can almost argue he wasn't even a comedian in the show. He did a few picking at the audience, but he was really hosting. He was really hosting it.
Which is what he was doing, yes.
Yeah, just like he did with the Apollo. People forget he used to host the Apollo.
Yeah.
He's
a hoster. That's what he does.
Did you rap the Stone? He was hosting on the Steve Harvey show. Steve Hightower. He never taught. He just hosted the class. Because next person come down here and answer question number 1.
Yeah, he did do that.
Here's the microphone. So, what he did though, it was from Steve Harvey to the next tier, which was D.L. Hughley. I think D.L. Hughley, to me, I think he's somewhat underrated. He is funny. He's funny. Yeah, he's just funny. Then the next tier was Cedric the Entertainer, who had a very hot run at the time.
That was a strong, I will agree, that was a strong run for him. Yeah, and that was a strong stand-up.
He was all on Country Grammar, the album. He was all in the Nelly videos. So, you know, he was doing it for the Lou. And then finally, you had the sledgehammer come through, which was Bernie Mac. So that's how I looked at it. It was kind of like
Bernie Mac, definitely.
Yeah, you know, Steve Harvey was like the snack before the entree. He wasn't even the entree. I mean, I would consider D.L. Hughley was the entree. But, you know, Steve Harvey was like the gum you smacking on the way to the restaurant. So, I mean, at the end of the day, though, he was able to transition and shed some things and be politically neutral on a lot of things. And then, of course, pander to people like Paula Dean and say what he said about slavery. And he's making his money.
And Eddie Long to the Christian.
Oh, my goodness.
Christian core fan base there.
You know what that does? Highlight your point.
Excuses for pedophilia. Isn't that interesting?
That did highlight your point, Sincere. You're right, because the target audience, though, he does have a large demographic of those staunch Eddie Long and T.D. Jakes supporters.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I don't know too many secular people that tune into Steve Harvey like that.
Because you know what else?
It's an overwhelmingly Christian fan base.
But also, we forgot to mention, how can I not mention, because I did talk about this in the rant I did about him in that video years ago, but he did jump into the Christian audience. I remember that because he was straight secular, and then he ran in there with Donnie McClurkin and T.D. Jakes, and what's the little one though? GP, are you with me? Oh yeah, we got Kurt Franklin. Yeah, that dude. And he did the little comedy tour. He actually hosted a show like on TBN. And then he left, and then that's when he got his show and everything.
Real quick, just to touch on the whole Christian thing and why you see them, you know, defending a lot of racists and Dylan Roof and saying forgiveness, you know. But my brief experience with them, they forgive people who pedophiles. Someone can have been raping children. Right. Their husband could have been raping children. Could have been a pastor. Could have just been in the congregation, and they say forgive. You know, a woman could have got raped. Forgive. I don't know. A guy could slept with another guy's wife, or a woman slept with another woman's husband. And all of them is always forgive. Now, of course, the low key stuff, I guess, for infidelity.
Yeah, I doubt that.
I mean, infidelity, I guess, is, you know, there's something.
It's one of the things that's off.
I mean, no, I'm saying it's a low key. It's an issue, but it's something I can see someone eventually forgiving. But that whole, they forgive for extreme shit too. That is, and I'm like, if they do that within their own circle, of course they're gonna be so easy to forgive someone who calls, you know, black people jigaboos or had killed
monkey,
a black
nigger,
family.
jungle butts.
Yeah, they don't care.
Well, the thing about this though, I have seen within that set, because I have family that was involved in that. Two things that is off the table is the infidelity, more so on the men part, because I have seen a lot of women whose husbands have cheated on them in the black Christian church, and they've been very forgiving. But the brothers are the ones that end up on the news for shooting somebody. You know what I'm saying? And then also when it comes to money. If you owe somebody something, they're not going to let it go.
They're not going to forgive that.
Yeah, they're not going to forgive that. But Paula Dean, you can say it's okay to have a plantation wedding for all your black servants on your job. So yeah, Steve Harvey, let's be real. He's hustled himself into a nice space that he collected his Christian audience when he went into that realm, and he brought them with him. Just like they said Lucifer took a third of the angel, Steve Harvey took a third of the Christian mindset and brought it to his show, that is. So at this stage in the game, I mean, it's working for him, and we can't really look at him as a comedian. We just can't.
No, I don't see him as a comedian.
I think he's made business moves.
Yeah, and like you said, he was just always a loud host that people confused with being a comedian.
Did you rap the rock? Yeah. All right, folks, this is your boy Prince Solomon.
And this is your girl Sincere.
Peace.
I saw the check, nigga. Huh?
Boy, stop.